I've always been passionate about animals, and there's just an overwhelming need for help for those that can't help themselves. And I found a group to volunteer with for a little while, and then I decided I wanted to move on and do my own.
Hi, y'all. Welcome to Buddies Besties. I'm Layla. I'm your host today. And today I'm here with Jen Lewis. Thank you, Jen, for joining us. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Well, I'm really excited to talk to you. So you have a rescue called Marleigh's Friends Rescue. We know each other very well because I actually have adopted from you before. So there is an episode coming at some point talking more about that. But I did want to talk today really about rescues, how people... why people start them, how people can get involved, some of the things that people should know when they get involved with a rescue. So let's just start with, why did you start your rescue?
I've always been passionate about animals, and there's just an overwhelming need for help for those that can't help themselves. And I found a group to volunteer with for a little while, and then I decided I wanted to move on and do my own. I thought I could, do things a little different so I did.
Put your spin on it. I love it. So how many animals would you say you've rescued since you started?
Oh, that's
6 years ago?
Almost, yeah.
Okay.
5.5.
Okay.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Because we take in a lot of the animals that are not easily adopted.
Okay.
I don't take in a lot of little dogs. I don't take in a lot of fluffy dogs. I take in the ones that are less likely to get adopted. The older ones, the black dogs, the pit bulls, the ones that are overlooked more.
Okay, so you just said something, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I know this to be true for cats. It's difficult to adopt out black cats. People think they're bad luck, which is crazy. I've had many, many black cats, and they're super sweet and a super big blessing. But they said, that's dogs too. Dogs that have darker hair. Is that true?
Yeah, well, when you think about it, so I searched on one website just to see where our dogs show up on the website when people are searching for dogs or cats. And in a 10-mile radius, there was 1,100 just dogs, just through shelters and rescues in that 10-mile radius, not including any rehoming, that needed a home.
Okay.
So when you have 1,100 dogs, people are just scrolling. There's got to be something that stands out about them. If it's just a black dog, unless they're specifically looking for a black dog or a black cat, they're probably going to scroll past it.
Just because there's so many.
Yeah. People want that unique one that's going to stand out in that 1,100.
Got it.
The spots, the fluff, the crazy eyes.
So there's nothing, like with cats, it's usually their bad luck. But with dogs, it's not that. They just need to look special.
Yeah.
Just like people, I guess, hey?
Doesn't get their attention, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting, wow.
I had one foster for over 3 years that was a black dog, and she was the best dog. Her name was Mama. She was literally a mama to every animal that came into that house, whether it was a dog, a cat, a bottle kitten, it didn't matter. She was amazing. Took her almost a little over 3 years to find a home because she was a black dog.
Wow. That's so interesting. So what breed do people tend to find in a rescue situation? What kind of breeds are you coming across more with dogs? Because I know cats, it's really difficult to, I know you get everything. But I think for people that are adopting animals, I think dog breeds, people really are into different kinds of breeds. And there's reasons for that. Some breeds are better with kids. Some breeds are better for different things. And so with a cat, people are always like, when I say the breed of my cat, people are like, it's a cat. Like, there's not really a breed. Right. But for dogs, there is. So what breeds do you come across most when you're dealing with rescue situations?
Pit bull type.
Bulls.
Yeah, pit bull mixes, pit bull type dogs, lots of huskies.
Okay.
And lots of chihuahuas.
Chihuahuas, okay. And why do you think they're in a rescue situation?
Well, the pit bull has a horrible name behind it, even though it's mostly all false.
Okay.
The media has just made pit bulls out to be just the worst dogs in the world, and some of the very best dogs I've ever had were pit bull mixes. So it's a bad stereotype. Just like when I was younger, it was Doberman, then Rottweiler, then German Shepherd, they were the worst. And now it's been pit bull, unfortunately, for the last 20, 30 years. Apartment complexes don't let you have them. A lot of landlords don't let you have them. So people can't keep them. But there's a lot of irresponsible people that don't fix their dogs and then they breed, and it adds to the problem.
Right. That's a problem, I think, for all the animals, right? The reason we have so many rescues and the need for so many rescues is because if more animals were spayed or neutered, then you'd have less of that issue. So that's definitely a thing. So if you're looking to adopt from a shelter, what kind of questions should you ask the shelters?
The history on the dog. Has this dog, do you know, because a lot of rescues are foster based, unlike shelters. So many of these dogs live in homes. Has this dog been around other dogs, cats, kids? What's their behavior like? What's their backstory? You want to know as much as possible about that dog as you possibly can, or cat, to help give them the life that they need.
Right.
And to make sure that they're a good fit in your home as well. I mean, you don't want a dog that requires, a 10-mile run every day if you like to just sit at home on the couch and want a Netflix and chill dog.
Right. That'd be my kind of dog.
Right.
If I was getting a dog, I would want a dog that would want to sit around with me.
Right.
Like my cats do.
Snuggle.
Yes.
Yeah. I see. I'm not the 10-mile a day kind of. I don't even want to do a half a mile a day.
Me either.
I have 12 dogs at my house though, so it takes me a while to get everybody out.
What's the longest you've had a rescue dog? I don't want to consider a fail because I'm sure, there's some that you just never want to get rid of.
We still have one now that was actually one of the first that we rescued, Serenity.
Wow.
We've had her about 5 years now.
And she's up for adoption and you just have her. Mm-hmm. She a black dog?
No, she's a gray hippo, but she's missing one ear completely, and she's only got about 3/4 of the other ear. And
so she's special needs. Yeah. So a little bit tough. I'm sure you love her.
Oh, she's adorable. She's not in my house. She's got a foster, but she's a sweetheart and she's a great dog. But
Well, so while we're talking about a little bit of the shelter and the rescue, what's the difference between a rescue and a shelter?
Rescues are privately funded. They rely on donations more from followers and people they know and just in their network. We can also say, no, we don't have room to take that dog. No, we don't have room to take that cat, because we're foster based. We don't have a shelter. City shelters, they're government funded. So your taxes already paid, for what they need there most of the time. But they also are not allowed to turn away animals that come from within the city limits that they're in. So they have a problem with overcrowding a lot of times.
Yeah.
Dallas Animal Services right now is at 149% capacity.
Wow.
And it happens a lot with the shelters around here. They just over capacity, and they try really hard to not euthanize for space.
Yeah.
But
that is something open to them.
Mm-hmm. But when you have to take in the 161 animals that they bring in one weekend, then you have no choice but to euthanize for space because you have to take those 161 animals in.
Do the shelters take all animals, or do they just take dogs and cats? Like if you find a turtle or a hamster, they take everything.
Mm-hmm. I've seen shelters with roosters, and I've even seen them with pigs, stray pig.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how the fosters benefit the animal. I mean, obviously you're saving them, but how does a foster situation work?
So the dog kind of just lives with you for a while, and you teach him manners. You learn about the dog's behavior and teach him how a lot of times, you don't know the background of these animals. A lot of times they weren't really loved in a family if they end up on the street or in the shelter. So you're basically teaching them how to be a family member. And the foster is able to provide the rescue with information that's needed to know what kind of home that dog needs to find or that cat needs to find. So it's very beneficial and paving the way, so to speak, to finding them that one and final home that they'll live the rest of their life in.
Their forever home.
Mm-hmm.
So do you find finding fosters to be very challenging?
It can be, especially since we do mostly large breed dogs. It can be pretty challenging.
How many fosters do you have right now that have some of your animals?
Probably like 10, 12, not a whole lot.
And do the fosters cross over to different rescues? So can I be a foster for you and a foster for Dallas Cat Lady and a foster for another group?
So some rescues are very against that because they don't want to lose their foster, because fosters are very hard to find. They don't want to lose their foster to another rescue. Me, I just want every dog safe. As long as that rescue that you're fostering for doesn't mind that you have one of mine and that dog's vetted or that cat's vetted and it's not going to get this one sick or vice versa, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I just want every dog and cat to have a home.
What's a good way to find fosters? Like, I'm curious my background is marketing. I'm curious how you market to get more fosters.
I beg.
You beg. You beg people you know.
I beg.
You see someone that's got a cute dog and you think they'd be a good foster.
It's hard. You just gotta network and ask and put it out there and, hey, this dog needs a home. And it's really hard once they're already out of the shelter or already with the rescue to find a foster. Like if one dog loses its foster, it's really hard to find another one because the people that do want to foster, they want to help the one that's in the shelter about to be euthanized. Once it's out of the shelter, it loses its urgency because it's safe.
Right.
So it's really hard. That's why we end up with dogs in boarding sometimes when they lose their foster or they're returned by their adopter. Because new fosters always want to help the dog that's about to get killed.
Right. You feel like that's the most urgent thing. As someone on the outside, that's what I would think.
Right.
It'd be like more helpful to do that, but it's hard to get reached. So do you have repeat fosters? Do you have the same people that foster over and over? And how many dogs can somebody foster at the same time?
Every situation is different. I had one that had 7. He had land and he was able to keep up and all the dogs got along and it was great. It just depends on their living situation, the pets they have and what they're able to accommodate and the pets themselves.
Right. What's the hardest thing you would say if I asked you what's the hardest thing about running a rescue? What's the hardest thing for you?
Lack of sleep.
Lack of sleep.
And just sometimes you feel like you're beating a horse when you try to educate people on some things that you think should be common sense that would help keep these animals. And it's something that you're so passionate about. And it can be really heartbreaking sometimes. Yeah. Some of the things that we see, some of the things that we go through.
Yeah. Do you think it's harder to get funds or harder to get foster families, houses? What do you call them? Foster parents? What do you
foster homes.
Foster homes. Yeah. Okay. So what's harder? The money? Because I know you need money to keep running your rescue, or fosters?
Well, they're both pretty equally difficult because you can't take in new dogs without a foster and you can't take in new dogs without money to help them.
Right.
So, I mean, there's some days that I can ask for money for something and everybody's like, oh, hey, I'll help. Like I asked for cat food for some cats not long ago.
Yeah.
And I had so many bags of cat food show up.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
I think I
was
said 2
just
or
like,
3
oh
bags.
my gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, so much cat food showed up like every day for like a week. I was so thankful. But then there's other days when I have like Tracy, she had to have a TPLO surgery, which was a $3,500 surgery for her knee. I begged and begged and begged and begged. And it was so hard to get money for it. Even though I had the invoice, I had the photos, everything. It's just catching the right people at the right time that want to give, I guess.
So that brings me to the social media aspect of running a rescue. You do a really great job on your social media. You're welcome. I think it's really well run. I think you're really informative. You're also entertaining a lot of the time. And I think that's what hooks people, right? But I also see, and we've talked a little bit about this, when you're vetting a rescue, we talked a little bit about the scams that can be out there for not necessarily the rescue, but the way people use social media is easy to, we talked about the one with the photo of the animal that was hurt and there was a GoFundMe attached to it.
Yeah, and it was a picture they got off of Google.
Right, they get it off Google, they post it. So what can people do at home to protect themselves from giving to people like that and really putting the money in valuable places like with your rescue and thousands of other rescues around?
Look into, it's hard when you see a picture of this dog this cat that got attacked, and you see it and it's just like pulling at your heart and you just want to give them all the money you can.
Yeah. Take all my money.
Click on where that came from first. See if they've got more information on it. Make sure that it's legit, because there's a lot of people that know people like us that have a heart for these animals will be like, oh, here you go, take it all.
Yeah, here's my purse.
And so they feed off that. Lots of scammers feed off of that.
Right.
And so a lot of people are just quick to be like, okay, here you go, open their checkbook.
Right.
Because they want to help. But there's a lot of people that take advantage of that. So just look into the rescue or where it came from. Even see if you can pay the vet directly. Even if it is a person that's not affiliated with a rescue, their dog got out and got run over.
Right.
And you want to help it. Okay. Can you make a donation directly to the vet? Because when people give money to the scammers and then they find out that they're scammed, that takes money away from the rescues and the animals that actually really need it.
Right. And then maybe they don't donate to rescues completely.
And it puts a bad taste in their mouth and they're like, I'm not donating anymore.
Right. I think that's, it's sad where we are, but that is social media. It's so great in so many ways, but then there's this aspect of people that can do that, and it really damages rescues like yours.
Right.
We talked a lot about the big rescue versus the little rescue, right? Mm-hmm. So we talked about there's a lot of really big rescues and places that get millions of dollars.
Right.
But then there's the rescues like yours that are super small that really need like literally the cat food and the one vet bill. And what is a good way for people to find rescues like yours versus just donating to the one big?
The one that's on TV with the sappy commercials all the time,
I hate those commercials. I know what they're doing, but they kill me.
Yeah.
Oh, they kill me.
Yep.
It's so hard.
I mean, just look in your area. You can go on Facebook, go on Google, search your specific area for rescues, even shelters that need help. Get involved with that group. See if you can help volunteer. Volunteering, you could be allergic to dogs and cats and still volunteer. I mean, there's times that I just need stuff picked up sometimes and you don't even have to do anything with a dog or a cat if you don't want to. Anybody can help. Everybody can help. If that's something that they're passionate about and wanting to help. And you just find someone that's local to you and see what you can help with. Get involved.
I think that's a great question, because I'm sure people at home are watching and asking themselves, how can I help? Mm-hmm. So obviously you can write a check and you can foster. Mm-hmm. But what are some other ways people can get involved with rescues that would really be helpful?
Even if you just help network, join a bunch of adoption groups on Facebook.
Yep.
Or even on Nextdoor or something, and go to this rescue site and just share their posts. People don't understand like the power of sharing a post, because like our Facebook page, we've got a network of people, but those people always see our posts.
Yep.
I'm sure if they could have adopted one of our dogs, they already would have. Share it. Just because you can't adopt the dog doesn't mean that somebody on your friends list that wouldn't normally see that might not be wanting that exact dog that you're sharing. So sharing, you can get it seen and put that dog or cat's face in front of somebody that probably wouldn't see it otherwise. And it gives them a really good chance at getting adopted.
So even that simple thing, just sharing posts, because, I'm always like texting you or messaging you about some cute cat you've posted. And I'm always saying like, I can't take any more. But I never even really thought to just share.
Right.
Because you also adopt across state lines. And I know do you do that?
It's case by case. We took one in December or January to Oklahoma City and met her adopter that came from Kansas.
Okay.
And we had met her about a month prior to that up there as well for her to meet her originally. And then we brought her back and we finished all her vetting before we met her again and sent her home. So we have done out of state. It's case by case. It's per animal. Some dogs have a little more quirks in them than others. And I don't want to, because one thing you have to worry about is once they get there, if that ends up not being a great home, how are you going to get that dog back?
Yeah.
So that's something you have to be really, really careful about adopting out of state or somewhere far, is because the last thing you want is that person say, I can't keep this dog anymore, I'm going to go dump him off. And then you're like freaking out frantically trying to figure out how you're going to get 17 hours across this, across the country to go find this dog.
Do you network with other rescues across different states to be able to help with that, you don't. Do you network with rescues in your area? Do you ever work with other rescues?
Not directly. I mean, there's other rescues that that I talk to, and we go to each other for, help or questions and stuff. But as far as, I mean, on my personal page, I'll network other dogs all day long. On the rescue page, I mean, we're so busy with the ones we've got trying to find homes, and that's with every rescue. We don't really cross post a lot on each other's, but we'll share them on our other pages all day long.
That's great.
Just hit share on everyone. There you go.
So where do you see Marleigh's friends in 5 years?
Hopefully we'll have some more volunteers and we'll have some more fosters so that in 5 years when my daughter's 11 and she's doing all her school activities, I can actually go do those things with her instead of having her stuffed in the car driving all over the Metroplex. It would be really great to have people that are as passionate as I am, that want to help, and that will get involved with us to where we can expand. I don't want to be like a huge nation-known rescue.
You just want to save
I want to help as many as I can.
There you go.
I can only help what I can help with the resources that I've got.
Well, I think it's important to mention this is your passion project. This is your love, but you actually have an actual job.
I do.
An actual job outside of this.
And a 6-year-old child.
Yeah, so this is definitely something you do because you love it. And we are so grateful. All the pet lovers are so grateful for rescues like you and other rescues that love and care so much and take so much time. And I'm so appreciative that you came and spent time with me today. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you guys enjoyed watching this episode of Buddies Besties. We've loved seeing you today. Come back and see us again. And remember, adopt, don't shop.